and we've made it all the way to Pluto and Sagittarius. So I'd like to welcome Simon back to Guiding Stars. Welcome back.
Hi, Kristen and everybody. Thanks for having me back again, as always.
Yeah, anything you'd like to announce to the listeners before we get going?
Announce?
Or share?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to know more about the work that I do on behalf of Evolutionary Astrology, you can always have a look at my website, which is www.simonforster.com. And I suppose, yeah, you can just browse my website and see what different types of ways in which I've creatively manifested the way to learn EA. That's definitely something that I vocalize a lot, is how you can learn, and I love teaching it. So if you're interested in learning, have a look at my website. There's loads of information on there about everything. Read articles that you can, there's almost maybe 30 articles that you can digest on evolutionary astrology. And that's basically it, to be honest, at the moment. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Well, welcome back. And gosh, we have Pluto and Sag and Pluto and Capricorn, and then we're finished. So hopefully we can keep you around and think of something else really cool to talk about.
Yeah, if anybody's wanting to have gotten ideas about things that they want me to talk about or to go, I would be happy to work with suggestions. Any listeners, happy to do that.
Okay, great. But before we get going into Pluto and Sag, maybe you could share with the listeners why you feel it's important to discuss this generational signature.
Right, thanks so much. So for me, personally, I like to track the ways in which energy and consciousness shapes itself as it goes around the natural zodiac, how Pluto changes the way that we orientate ourselves to life. And my personal subjective intention there is to bring light to the different dynamics in which each generation is trying to evolve through, and how specific generations are supporting that process, and how other generations are, in some way, shape, or form, maybe not understanding other generations, like the Pluto and Scorpios and the Pluto and Libras. Pluto and Libras is very soft. They're like, hey, let's get into a relationship, and I want to be needed by you. And the Pluto and Scorpios are like, look, own your own stuff. I own my own, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But don't betray me,
Oh, my gosh, Simon. I love it. True.
Yeah, and maybe, on the most purest essence out of everything is really just trying to create a deep internal validation for your life as the transition of times has taken place. So as an example, with the Pluto and Leos, your whole entire life has been about your creative process and what gives personal meaning to you. And we're reaching a point now in our time in which the transition from the more material plane and the material way in which we've seen and evolved through life has become more ether or etherical in that sense. The onset of the internet, which we'll discuss through the Pluto and Sag generation. Look at your polarity point. It's Aquarius, the acceleration of consciousness, the consciousness itself. And the planet today is heavily invested in the experience of what is consciousness, or at least it's growing. And this transition that you're currently going through right now is from a physical to a metaphysical one. And your destiny can feel as if you're losing that right now. But really, it's actually you just relieving, allowing your legacy to exist in a more Aquarian state. So your consciousness gets evolved and you infuse your consciousness into the collective through sharing your wisdom. So you're about wisdom. So again, a deep validation of each of the signs that we've spoken about right now. And I've most certainly, as I've uploaded these recordings to my own YouTube channel, and the responses that I've had from people listening to them, the comments and such, have done exactly that. People have felt deeply validated for something they've known, but there hasn't really been such exposure to the nature of the soul. And honestly, that's why I love this material and know why it was given to Jeffrey and for us to carry on. It was like we're becoming more aware of soul. So the veils between the self and the higher meaning is becoming thinner. And whether we choose to feel like we're in control of that situation or not is dependable, seek to consensus. But and see how they feel about these events that are taking place in the world and how much power they really do have. Anyway, the point is that there's a deep validation that comes through this generational topic, and I've just been immensely fascinated by it, and I've got a lot of wisdom around it because this is a passion of mine. So we're now at Pluto and Sag, and one little thing I want to say amongst all of the babble that I have here is that I never actually considered talking about the Pluto and Capricorns and Pluto and Sages because I didn't feel that, ironically, I didn't feel that they were reaching a point in which they were searching for it on the internet. But when I did do small little glimpses and little, tidbits of Pluto and Sag material, there were loads that came through and say, talk more about it, talk more about it, talk more about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Wow, this is amazing. I'm loving the younger generations going, what does my soul want to know? Whereas honestly, from my point of view, okay, fair enough, I had a lot of Sag growing up, but from my point of view, when I was growing up, that was a very limited concept. So it gives me even more inspiration to know that what I'm actually sharing is something that is actually manifesting in reality, and I'm not deluded. Yeah. Anyway.
That's great.
So,
no, I love it. And I love that you got a lot of a good response from that generation wanting to know more and more and more. Pluto and Sag generation, incredible, really, in terms of, I feel, helping us really get back to our natural way in the world. It's Sag is so much about being honest and being in integrity and authentic, organic. I'm not saying everyone across the board is going to be that way, but I know I have a couple kids Pluto in the Sag generation, and it's just there's just a free-spirited way about them. They just want to be who they are for the most part. So let's talk about it. I mean, we've got, what do you have right there, actually what year? I think it was 1996. Was that when it first went into Sag?
1995, and I drew up two charts when Pluto was in Sag first time, 27th of 27th of February. So it was in Pluto, it was in Sagittarius in 1995 in February, and then if I understand my sister's birth time correctly, it actually was in Sag until the end of the year, and then retrograded back into Scorpio at the end of 1995, and then 1996 it went into Sagittarius completely, as if the retrogrades were done. So essentially 1995 early, and then 1996 up until 2008.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just over 8 and 5, so just over 12 years that it spent in that constellation.
Wow, I didn't realize it was all the way till 2008.
Yeah.
I see.
And there was a lot that was going on, A lot went on during that period of time for us.
Right, exactly. So, and Sag also connects to our international, just a fascination for international pursuits and cross-cultural involvement, etc. I'll say once again, having kids in this generation, they're fascinated with other cultures and learning other languages, or just little gypsy spirits. So what do you have to say? Are you wanting to talk about kind of what happened in the world during that time, or?
Yeah, I'm happy to kind of flow with the conversation with you, because I feel that you've also got a very nicely positioned experience to the Pluto and Sag energy, because you have children yourself. I'm sure you've observed them and understood what it's about. And I think for me, the most empowering and also very clear thing that the Pluto and Sagittarius souls are understanding is the relationship to faith. like to know that everything's going to be okay. So their belief system, okay, and the orientation around what is true, what is not true, how many different perspectives there are that can exist relative to individuality. You know, individuality, as you were mentioning, is so incredibly deeply entwined with the Pluto and Sagittarius souls, because not only was Uranus and Neptune transiting through Aquarius for the large majority of that time, you know, when these souls came onto the planet, but it also was the acceleration of the internet, and it was also, in my view, the acceleration and integration of the original, well, not the original, pardon me, but the Neptune and Aquarius conjunction that took place in Capricorn. You know, when the Pluto and Scorpios were there, it was like a continuation in which that conjunction was now beginning to be assimilated. And what I find really, really fascinating with this generation, that they are very far from, of course, because we ourselves are very far from this space, but what is the trajectory that we're on, and that is that we're switching from a very imbalanced masculine approach to life and more of the need for balancing it with the right brain, so integration of holistic experiences and consciousness, holistic consciousness. And so when you look at the Uranus transit into Pisces, when Pluto was still in Sagittarius, and of course now that Neptune's through Pisces, what we see with this generation is that their like energy of bringing holistic consciousness onto the planet is part of what the Pluto and Virgos are initiating into the world right now. Okay, and this kind of gets a little bit entangled in terms of how the generations are crossing each other, and I'll try to explain it in a very deep and threaded way so that you see the beauty in this experience here, which is the point of this whole entire series that we're doing. And that is that when Pluto transits through Sag, this shift from the left brain to the right brain began to take place. Okay? And the whole entire frequency is moving into that place. And when you observe their nature, you'll notice that their mental structures, the way in which they intellectualize themselves, has a lot less influence on the patriarchal ways of being than,
totally,
say, for instance, us. You know, and that's a big key to understand this generation and what consciousness they're actually bringing onto the planet in terms of the overall experience. And then when you look at the Pluto and Virgos, like we mentioned, when we were doing that generation, and in fact you mentioned it, which was a really interesting thing for me because I never saw it completely that way, but it made total sense, is that the polarity point to the Pluto and Virgos is that Pisces energy, okay? So for a majority of their life, they spent trying to access what that polarity point was. And I think very few of them, truly got it, especially the souls that were with the balsamic phase, Uranus, Pluto conjunction. And again, if I sound judgmental, I'm super sorry. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying in the sense that the consciousness of this energy pattern is only available post 2012. The point here is that the Pluto and Virgos with their polarity point are trying to access the spirit. They're trying to access the relationship in which there is no boundary between the lower self and the higher self. So between the realms of Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, there lies Saturn. And Saturn says, okay, here's my physical boundary, and the soul exists beyond that. So it's like trying to dissolve those veils to recognize the wholeness and the oneness in which we exist. So that's why evolutionary astrology, in my opinion, will have so much power going forward now, is because it is a soul-centered astrology. You can only access the spirituality through the experience if you realize the soul exists, which means you have to dissolve the boundaries between yourself and other, which relieves all victim patterning. Okay, victimhood patterning. It's like, so all experiences are being evolved through my ego as a way of the soul manifesting its desires, just like Jeffrey talks about when he talks about spiritual state. So there's this intention with dissolving the barriers with the Pluto and Pluto and Virgo. So now, as the Pluto and Sag come onto the planet, they are realizing through the activation of the Pluto in Virgos that are living here today that, oh, hold on, a lot of the reasons why I have illnesses and sicknesses in myself are generally because of my own kind of like emotional relationship to the depression, like to suppression, through experiences in which I felt emotionally like undeserving, where I carry lots of shame, all of this type of stuff that's stored in the body that needs to be purified because of our non-understanding of how emotions through the body, when they are, not being moved through us correctly. This is why we do things like yoga and Kundalini yoga to release the toxicity of the emotions that we've experienced through the soul's journey and lifetime. So now there's so many more practices on the world right now in which we realize that there's body work, there's, all these different types of practices, Pluto and Virgo, in which we can access the soul through clearing out our emotional baggage that we carry so that we can, do all the things like relieve us from these things and become more authentic. That's the key. The road to authenticity is being able to be real with your emotional reality and to have that as the actual reality for yourself. Whereas if you have emotional blockages or distortions or traumas, then you naturally disassociate from those experiences as a way of protecting yourself from having to deal with these experiences, which creates lies, which creates our ability to not hold our truth within ourselves because there's so much woundedness there. So when we look at the Pluto and Sagittarius, they're growing up in this lifetime in which this type of material is becoming more and more and more and more available to us so that we can become more authentic in our expression as we heal ourselves. And that's the kind of like Neptune through Pisces process, as well as the Uranus transiting through Pisces that these kids have. It's like the actual infusement of this energy is allowing the Pluto and Sagittarius to naturally have this consciousness be available to them by the time they get older, so that when they actually get into their lives, the realization that soul and sense of self and the separateness is only something in which is bound by our physical senses, and that we can break through that so that we can be more authentic, more real with ourselves. Yeah. And it's not a coincidence right now that Saturn and Sagittarius, not only in the later degrees, and we're dealing with the full moon that just recently happened with Chiron squaring that Saturn, as well as Venus retrograde on that Saturn. Not on that Saturn, but on that Chiron through Pisces, Neptune, not Neptune, but Venus on Chiron at this stage, and this whole full moon that we just had with Libra, right? Mm-hmm. And how many of us had to feel so raw with our emotions? How many of us got triggered? Look at the world today. Look what is happening in the States just a couple of days ago. That's not just like randomness. That's like deep amounts of emotional oppression that has been applied to our consciousness in which we don't feel liberated. And that stuff's just coming to the surface in ways like Jeffrey explained. You consistently keep on suppressing something that's not natural. At some point, it's just going to come to the surface in the most distorted ways, which is what we see. And it has to come out that way. But you understand the point.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The road to authenticness through the Pluto and Sagittarius, they're seeing it right now. That's why I'm saying they've got to have faith, because they're looking at the world and going, oh my God, what is going on? Are we going to be around? Is there, the crisis of what the news and propaganda are putting through with nuclear stuff, it's like, think about what they're actually being exposed to right now. Think about the uncertainty in the world. Think about the natural insecurity and instability that is being permeated through news and stuff. And they've got to think to themselves, we're so natural in our ways. How are we supposed to live in a world in which there's so much distortion?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's taking a generation like Pluto and Sag and putting them and having them grow up through a Pluto Capricorn time when everything is reaching these extremes, right? Yeah. Pluto and Capricorn's conjuncting its own south node of Pluto and all those other south nodes in Cap, right? So it's like, but I'm hoping that they can help change the world, right, along with this Pluto and Scorpio generation. We're going to need it. All right, we'll be right back with Simon right after the break.
Find out about Kristen Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristenFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary Astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristen's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristenFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Shh! Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
iHome Audio has become the #1 brand in the iPod, iPhone accessories market. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on iHome Audio now.
What would happen if you didn't follow the established path? Would you feel scared or proud? Could you explain that helping the people of Peru improve their own community would also have an effect on your own? Would you rather make your own way or spend a lifetime saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
I'm William Shatner, and this is Jimmy. Animals like Jimmy are often left behind by people fleeing hurricanes, fires, floods, and earthquakes. These abandoned animals cannot survive on their own. If you must evacuate your home, please never leave an animal behind. If you absolutely cannot take your animal with you, never leave him helplessly chained or caged. Many animals die because they cannot escape fires or rising waters. Animals need your help. Thank you.
Call PETA today, 757-622-PETA.
Okay, so you see a product you like on your favorite TV show, and you're going to write the number down. But if you're like me, you run around trying to find that pen and piece of paper, which magically disappears every time you need them. Then when you get back to the TV, they're already on to something else. Well, now there's a solution. Seen on TV products have combined all the best TV offers online and in one place. It's one-stop shopping. Just visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on the Seen on TV products. Then, who cares if that pesky pen or paper does a disappearing act?
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we are back. I'm here with Simon Forster, and we are discussing the Pluto and Sag generation. So I'm going to pass it back to you.
So what we were talking about just before the conversation, we were saying about how the Pluto and Sagittarius is, yes, you guys are super young at this point in time. Ranging from 8 years old up until 21, maybe, right? So 22, 21. And so that's why, again, it's like, firstly, most of you haven't, okay, so every single one has gone through at least their first Saturn square, okay? Now let's think about this. Let's really get in touch with what the Pluto and Sagittarius generation are experiencing as they develop their soul's journey in this lifetime, right, okay? And we look at the first ones, the 8 years old, right? They've just completed their first Saturn transit of their square. So they're in a place on an emotional level in which they recognize that there are limitations within their life. Not to the extent that we understand post-first Saturn return, but, they're aware that their body is mortal, and if they had to jump off certain things, there's a possibility of that not being good. So there is a relationship to the phenomena of reality in which they recognize on some deep level that whatever the world is about can also be very, very dangerous, right? Or wonderful at the same time. Both exist. It's not always doom and gloom as it might sound out of my mouth. But so firstly, how does a soul that has got a Saturn square that they've just transited out of begin to even process the nature of what the world is currently going through right now? Okay? Like, that's a big deal. That's a lot of weight on their shoulders, right? And most of them have got Uranus in Aquarius. Uranus in Pisces, okay? The 8-year-olds. So immediately, the nature of their reality and the nature of their individuality and trauma, if you want to put it into that context, through Uranus is through the constellation of like, wow, I'm really overwhelmed here. Like, do we have a choice in this matter? Do we have any power? I've just got to kind of surrender to the way in which things operate and hope for the best. And then even to the next degree of that is like the amount of disassociation in which humanity is going through right now as a way of coping mechanism for the amount of trauma that's coming up is so much that we are naturally inclined to spend almost 80% of our time on our mobile telephones or glued to some form of screen in which we are, to a certain degree, not really acknowledging the intensity in which things are manifesting energetically on the planet right now through Pluto, through Capricorn, right? And again, it's not their problem. They're not here to fix it. And that's what I think is so important to recognize to any parents that have got Pluto and Sag kids, is that they come in here and it's like you can have a conversation with them about the deepest truths and they like can surprise you. They have such a wonderful capacity to be such brilliant philosophers, you know what I mean, right? I'm sure you've experienced it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at the world and they're like, this is bonkers. And they're so, they can take it on so much that it's their responsibility. I mean, Milo, who's 10 years old, came over one day and said, let's not eat avocados anymore. Why? Because avocados take this amount of water, and on the planet right now, due to climate change, which don't even get me started on, is creating this thing. So we've got to cut down on our avocados because of the amount of the water they absorb in relationship to the scarcity of it. And I'm thinking to myself, these kids have got such a pure innocence about them, and yet they don't even know that a lot of the time the information that is put out into the world is just lies. Mm-hmm. So they experience this like relationship to life as this innocence, this opportunity to grow and expand into purity, and they don't even know yet at the time that there are an incredible amount of dishonest people out there that have got zero interest in humanity's, existence other than from their own place. And it's a really, really scary, fact to begin to allow a young person to digest as a way of coming into the world and saying, here's my dreams, here's my individuality, here's my potential. Oh, look, this is what I'm having to deal with. It's not okay. And I think that on some level, it's a very, very deeply, responsible thing that parents carry, that they have to kind of nurture these kids' wonderful ability to feel so spontaneous and to feel so exploration orientated and to want to travel and to want to explore the world and digest truth as it is in its organic form, and yet knowing that the world in itself doesn't always necessarily from a global perspective have that pure real intention. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is really important to recognize about the souls that were that are between the ages of, say, for instance, 14, 13 to around about 17, 18, maybe 19, mm-hmm. Or 20 as an example, that carry Uranus in Aquarius and also Neptune in Aquarius. I never forget the conversation that Kim Marie was having about Uranus entering Aries, and she was talking about the relationship that Uranus and Aries children will have to the Uranus and Uranus and Pisces kids. And it would be about bringing them out of their trauma, out of their disassociated states, because there's these many lifetimes they've lived in which there's this deep, overwhelming sensation of, we don't have any power, right? And I watched my interaction with Milo, who's got Uranus in Pisces, and my two younger kids who have got Uranus in Aries, and they pull him out of his state of disassociation so much, it's unbelievable, into the real world, and you can see how much he hates it because of that need to numb the deep internal feelings of pain that they carry on some level as they look at the world and go, wow, where did we go? And unfortunately I hear it out of my voice, and I'm trying not to be this way, but on some level, yes, we have lost our plot a little bit through the way in which we have lost the soul within ourselves as a collective, but at the same time to give us enough compassion to recognize that even that process in itself is still part of consciousness and God Goddess expressing itself in that form. So it's not like we have to sit and judge it for it being negative. It's just more along the lines of allowing ourselves to recognize that we need more integration of the feminine. We need more integration of the Sagittarius archetype, the natural laws in which we have lost touch with, the integration of a balanced masculine and feminine energy in that way. And I feel that this is what these kids have. So there's a film that I would highly encourage you to go and watch, if you haven't already, called Tomorrowland. And this is the type of film that I feel the Pluto and Sagittarius is really, when they get into philosophy, it's like they look at the way in which we can we can change realities and do all these types of wonderful things with consciousness and stuff. But when you look at the way in which the movie portrays itself as these main characters, you can see the Uranus through Aquarius and Neptune through Aquarius energy. It's like they have such powerful an invention behind them. They're so intelligent. They have this capacity to really understand the nature of advanced consciousness that we, at this point in time, I don't feel are able to really understand fully, because, of course, they represent the kind of acceleration of consciousness. Aquarius correlates to that. So to them, a lot of the way in which the world looks today is not even what their blueprint they carry. You know what I mean? Their inventions, their ideas, what they're going to see, how they're going to change the world that's more organic, bioorganic, it's going to be so much more beautiful. But they need to get through this phase in which they see the collapse of society, the collapse of the distortion, the purification of all of these things in which have been, integrated within the bones and structures of how we have manifested ourselves in the past. And that is where I feel a lot of their trauma will exist, is the realization that it's just about numbing the pain and waiting for their time. And I don't know if this kind of really resonates with you, but that's what I see intensely.
Well, I know that, my son in particular, he was very into Mother Nature and how she was being, how painful it must be for her, what people are doing, to nature itself at a very young age. But, one of the things I wanted to share, it was very, very sweet. My son, when he was 6, said, he's now 15, but I was at a birthday party, a little birthday party, and some of the mothers were talking to me and said that their son had told them on vacation, or one of the boys was talking to his grandma all about the third eye. And his grandma said, well, where did you learn that? And he said, Scotty, which is my son's name. He was in kindergarten and first grade, was teaching everybody, what Om meant, how to meditate in the third eye. He is a natural philosopher. It was just adorable. And, of course, he was born into this family, so he's observing certain things in this house, but it's just incredible, this little soul not afraid to just tell it like it is, right? Will somebody judge me if I talk about this? But anyway, the parents were very thankful, appreciative that he was a friend of theirs for that reason. So anyway, it catches on, It does. It catches on like wildfire because those boys just ate it up and they wanted to learn more about it. So this is a natural truth. That's Sag, right? That's Jupiter. It's Sag. And when you hear the truth and you know it for yourself, then your body will tell you the truth every time. So those boys were like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. This meditating business, 6-year-olds, Anyway, we'll be right back after the break with Simon.
See straight and save. These days, everyone seems to see things differently. But from your eyes, you can see straight and save. Right now, get glasses online at 70% off at Glasses USA. There's a 100% guarantee, too, on top brand men, women, multifocal, and even prescription sunglasses. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Glasses USA, and you will see straight and save.
Find out about Kristen Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristenFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary Astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristen's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristenFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Have you ever wondered why you are here on this planet and what the point to all of this is? Evolutionary astrology is a natural science that allows for an understanding of the evolutionary journey of the soul from life to life. Evolutionary astrology provides a vehicle to understand prior life dynamics that have led to the reason and purpose for the life you live. It offers a depth of information and insights about each person that no other type of astrology can provide. As Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, says,
for those who wish to unveil the depth of who you actually are, I would highly recommend that you seek out qualified evolutionary astrologers such as Kristen Fontana and other graduated students of the School of Evolutionary Astrology. For those who are considering becoming an astrologer to make it a natural career, I'd recommend that you consider Jeffrey Wolf Green's School of Evolutionary Astrology, where it will assist you in answering and your clients answering a big question. Why am I here? Thanks for listening. God bless.
To get your message out, social media is great. But if you want to be picked up by major media outlets, let's face it, just using social media makes your chances, well, slim to none. If you want to improve your chances, put your message in the right place. A press release on PR Web. Affordable, easy to use, and with great customer service, there's no reason not to use PR Web. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on PR Web now and get started.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Eat less, eat slower, eat smarter, eat your fruits and veggies. Stop eating before you're full. Up your fiber, lower your calories, get off the bus early, do some gardening, do jumping jacks, take the stairs, take one, not two, take on a new sport, take a long walk home, walk instead of drive, bend, stretch, reach for the stars, climb the monkey bars, skip the fudge bars. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
All right, we are back. I'm here with Simon. We're discussing Pluto and Sag generation. And on the break, we were talking about the fact that, hey, you know, Jupiter is the ruler for Sagittarius. So Pluto and Sag, you know, Jupiter's a big part of their life, right? Being honest and open and natural. But I wanted to share, too, that I remember him saying one time, he was really still quite young, 6, 7 or 8, I can't remember, but he said, I love you so much, Mama, I would walk around Jupiter to show you, and it would be really hard with all that gravity. I mean, he's just a funny kid. But Jupiter, he picked Jupiter as a planet he wanted to walk around, and just to show me, because it was so big and it would take so long, but he would be proving Pluto, right, his love for me. I'll walk all the way. You know how hard that would be with all that gravity?
Do you know what I love about this whole entire experience right now and how transcendent it is, right? What does Jeffrey talk about with the Sagittarius archetype after we evolved out of Scorpio? It's like Sag is about the ability to learn to laugh at yourself and laughter in general, right? Because Scorpio is so intense and we've got to get to the bottom of it and we've got to really sort of like heal our souls and this is a die-hard situation. Sag is like, okay, I get it's intense over here. We've got some faith, but, you know, let's giggle a little bit at our stupidity in terms of how we've done things in the past and forgive ourselves, right?
Oh, yeah.
And just listen to how the joy was coming out of your own mouth as you were sharing that beautiful story with your son. And I feel like that's just it's such an upliftment that these kids and this generation will bring us once we get over this little bump.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, humor is just it's just pure medicine. You know, it really is. It's the best kind of medicine. And I laugh a lot with my kids. We laugh every day about something. They're both Pluto and Sag, but they're Pluto in the 6th house. Both kids are. So if you're going to have Pluto in the 6th, it's nice to have it in Sag. You know, so they're, you know, they work really hard in their life. You know, they're improving themselves, doing well in school, and all of that. It's just important. They're extremely responsible kids, and one of them is a Pisces and one's a Virgo. And so you were just talking about this axis. They have 6th house Plutos. and they're extremely close, and they're a year and a half apart, but very close. And both of them are living this axis all the time, the natural square to the Pluto and Sag, and that's the opposition, through the Pisces Virgo axis. But on the break too, I wanted to share what I shared with you, in that when I asked my son when he was younger, like 6, what he wanted to be when he grew up, he talked about Sagittarius wanting just to be who they are, right? Natural. I just want to be a natural expression of who I am and not have to apologize for it. Of course, my Virgo daughter will feel like she has to apologize for it all the time. But anyway, my Pisces, he says, I just want to be the normal me. What do you want to be when you grow up? I just want to be the normal me. That's it. I don't want to be a version of me. I just want to be the normal me. How I was meant to be. That's me. That's what I want. So, I mean, there's just so much, there is so much wisdom at such a young age with this generation that I've experienced, at least, and not just with my kids, with their friends. It's amazing what you can talk about. The questions that they're asking you at such a young age, I can't even believe the questions I was asked. I mean, across the board. The body, God, everything. They'll go anywhere, I mean, and really surprising places, I have to say. So
and that's so beautiful about what you shared there, completely, about, like, all the questions, and they just have this naturalness that I feel is what I feel like that energy naturally represents what we're trying to achieve within ourselves for the generations earlier. And I can't get over the whole, like, jovial experience, the joy, the sense of feeling natural. Why can't we just be all natural within ourselves? And I feel that that's something that's really important for all of us to recognize, that this generation is showing us in their sort of like developmental phase, is that while they're unconditioned, is that right now a lot of us, especially with Jupiter transiting through Libra, recognizing the social expectations and demands and perspectives and truths that we hold for ourselves as a way of relating, and yet the essence of our being is kind of being suppressed by this overlay that we think we should apply as a way of naturally being, whereas really it's not. And I think that just their expression, this Pluto and Sagittarius generation, and their expression of just seeing things for what it is and being able to, I mean, I've watched here in Sweden, I'm sorry, I'm just having my own little laughter factor over here, because again, it's just permeating through. But there's a couple of YouTube channels that are being created by Pluto and Sag kids. You can clearly see that that's them, and they have so much humor around their videos, and specifically how they interact with the teachers who represents and stuff. Mm-hmm. And when you look at how the Pluto and Scorpios would interact with school and teachings, they were very much about, like, who's in power, who's vulnerable, who's this person that's giving me this information, I want to be my own boss. And they kind of take back their own power in that sense. But the Pluto and Sagittarius are so much more, the word is not obnoxious. They're able to see the truth in themselves and in the experience, that they don't really need to be educated on things that numb their mind. So, like Milo, for instance, he's like, oh my gosh, now I have to go to school over here, but the things I'm being taught are things that I feel I could have a debate with my teacher about, but they won't allow me to debate because their own sense of authority gets, triggered. And it's like this whole entire YouTube community of kids that were creating videos was actually expressing things that they're learning, but actually pulling apart and saying, is this really the truth? Is this really how things are? But doing it in a very comical way where you could actually see how silly we have educated ourselves in the past. And that's, again, not a judgment to say we're stupid. It's just that they're so much more, clued up at such a young age.
Yeah, exactly. It is so true. Well, more to share about this wonderful this generation of teachers, for sure. Children are teachers. We'll be right back after the break.
Find out about Kristen Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristenFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary Astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristen's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristenFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Let's face it, we're all looking for great products at a great price because it's just a good way to shop and get the most value for your money. Well, here at HealthyLife.net Radio, we do that too. We do it for you. You won't find advertisers or affiliates that are not in line with our vision of bringing people a positive, happy, and healthy life. Although many advertisers come to us, few are chosen. Our advertisers are handpicked and specially selected to support our vision and give you great products at a fair price. So the next time you're looking to buy a product or a service, check out HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Click through our advertiser partner sites. You'll be glad you did, and so will we. Because you'll help support HealthyLife.net, and we can keep our positive programs coming to you 24/7. That's HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Do us a favor. Visit soon and often. It's a win-win situation for you, our advertisers, and HealthyLife.net. Just do it. HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
Want help quitting smoking? Try Premium e-cigarettes. They have an outstanding range of nicotine alternative products. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on Premium e-cigarettes.
The home for high-quality video is Vimeo. People who love videos love Vimeo. It's the community for indie filmmakers, popular entertainers, music videos. Even the White House posts high-def versions of its broadcasts on Vimeo. You can even upload and share your videos. So much to see, so little time. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Vimeo and get started seeing and sharing great entertainment now.
Take one step towards Spirit. Spirit will take 1,000 steps toward you. Come explore the world of evolutionary astrology with Rose Marcus. Rose Marcus is well known for her heartfelt passion, sensitive counseling skills, and dedication to helping others. You can now study evolutionary astrology from the comfort of your own home through live teleconference classes with Rose. To register for the next Evolutionary Astrology School, to read your in-depth monthly horoscope, or to book a private astrology with Rose Marcus, please visit her website, www.rosemarcus.com.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we are back. I'm here with Simon Forster and SimonForster.com. It's SIMONV as in Victor, ORSTER.com. Yep. So, a lot to say in any given show here. It just whizzes by the time, but I want to make sure I got off on some of my little stories. Are there some other things that you want to discuss about Pluto and Sag's alignment with other generations?
Let's have a look over here at some of my notes that I was writing down. I mean, we honestly did cover what I feel a lot in today's discussion. The meaning, the meaning of things versus faith. I feel like faith. I always come back to it. It's like looking at reality and them feeling as if the world has potential and how it looks today, and feeling comfortable that they have this opportunity to find meaning. And to be able to integrate themselves where they feel that their personal truth can be acknowledged and that they don't consistently have experiences in which they are shut down, so that this knowledge that they have, they don't validate in themselves, for whatever reason that might be. And of course, Pluto's transit through Sagittarius, and these kids, they carry the right brain consciousness. There's a lot more absorbing of realities. There's a lot more connection with nature. There's a lot more relaxation associated with the way that they are. They're not, I don't think that these kids will be, or this generation will be, avid coffee drinkers, because their need to, be busy, I feel, is something that it's not part of their makeup. They're quite content and happy to allow life to manifest for themselves and to get on with the way in which things operate in an organic way. What's the natural path for me to chill out and just be more interactive with the way that the world works on a holistic level. And so I feel that especially as they get older and they begin to integrate themselves into a world where there is a lot of repair that's going to be done, especially around the creation and invention of how we're going to integrate more feminine concepts into our masculine structures. You know, the consideration that I feel at that point, a lot of solar energy, a lot of natural energy will be used as a way of us consuming things, so that we're not destroying the nature of how the planet is operating, or at least disrespecting its natural recycling of its resources. So a lot more deeper connection to nature through that. And for us too, I feel like they're the ones that are going to really expand upon what the Pluto and Scorpios are going to do. And the Pluto and Scorpios are, honestly, they're standing up to their parents. They honestly are. That's what the whole journey is about. They're standing up to their parents, and they're empowering themselves through the authority. And I'm not saying that all Pluto and Scorpios need to stand up to their parents, because it's not something that necessarily every single one of you have had to have conflicts with. But on some level, there's unresolved material regarding the way in which we have governed ourselves, and through that governing, it's reflected in their personal lives through one parent or the other. And it's kind of like needing to take back their power. So they're going to confront a lot of the stuff and bring it down, and then kind of like bring their own concepts and engineering into the world later on. And what the Pluto and Sagittarius will do is just go, okay, well, we're also the next phase in the ongoing development and integration of the Aquarius age, which was, we're going to be less judgmental. We're going to become less isolating of people's ideas and perspectives and judging, and become more accepting of individuality, and that these more natural Aquarius type of consciousnesses will become the way in which we associate ourselves with. So, like right now, me and you are into astrology, so we would naturally attract like-minded people that would be part of our tribe, part of our group, that would develop things that we're interested in. The polarity points of a majority of the Pluto and Sagittarius are not only Gemini, but also that they have Aquarius signatures very strongly there. So the Leo energy comes into play. So it's self-validation, actualization through recognizing which groups I belong to and how those groups validate me, and becoming more accepting of other people's individuality, and not necessarily criticizing or judging and saying it's wrong, because there is one road to realizing, spirit in that sense. So, that's how I feel on a more serious tone place, mm-hmm. But they're just, that's how I feel. I just think that it's going to be a different world when they come onto the platform.
That's for sure, and we need it desperately. I think things are reaching the brink at the moment. Pluto Capricorn, with all that's going on collectively, and just in terms of the patriarchal push and extremity of things, looking at that cardinal axis, all the archetypes involved. And so, at some point, of course, I think perhaps when Pluto enters Aquarius will be a time when the true rebellion occurs. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we don't have any children born in that generation yet, but as a planet, I'm sure there will be a lot of radical change. The Pluto and Sag generation will be much older, along with Pluto and Scorpio in combination. Those two in combination, those 22 years of souls, right? Something like that. It's going to be pretty powerful. Hopefully we'll pull things in a far better way than the way things I feel are going currently. So Pluto and Sag can pull from these natural truths that they know, that are just in their cells, and know in many cases the natural way to do things. It is all about giving, sharing, and including at its highest expression, right? To share, to give, and to include versus the Capricorn patriarchal mine versus yours, to separate, exclusion, take even from the people that don't even have it. So I will be looking forward to seeing how this generation steps onto the stage of life, as you said, as they grow into themselves and into their life purpose here. So thank you so much for that hour. I always love it. And any of you out there that are interested in another series with Simon in terms of topics or specific single shows, please do let me know. If we can keep it going, Simon, you're welcome here always. I really enjoy this. And we'll be back here next week as well with Rose Marcus looking at the transits for the next month. Until next time, namaste.